What's good, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and I got a jam-packed episode for you this time around. We're going to just get straight into it. I have a bunch of content to cover for you guys. Today, we're going to give a couple shout-outs to some NBA players that recently retired. You may know all three of them. You may know only one of them. But we're going to give a brief shout-out to them at the beginning of the show. Then I'm going to dive into the NBA Christmas Day schedule. That recently got released. The rest of the schedule should be getting released sometime this week as well. So we're going to cover that. There was also some Hoop Academies that just recently took place. I want to cover some of the prospects in that just to get you familiar with them if you don't know who they are. Because they will be players to watch coming up in this high school season and also in the college season. So we're going to cover that as well. Also, there was a big FIBA, there was the Fiba U18 Euro tournament that just took place a couple weeks ago too. There's some prospects in there that I want to kind of put you guys on game with. If you know them, great. Put in the comments who you know, what you know about them, what your draft analysis is on them. I'm all for gaining knowledge and spreading it with everybody, you know. So we're going to cover some prospects over in Europe as well. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the Olympics. Obviously, the big game against Serbia. And I feel like a pretty good game also against France. But the Serbia game obviously was by far, the spectacle for me of Olympic basketball. But yeah, we're just going to get straight into it. I'm going to start off with these shout outs. So there's three NBA players that just recently retired. It was Jeremy Lamb, Kyle Guy, and then Gordon Hayward. Jeremy Lamb went to UConn, was a role player, kind of bounced around in the NBA. I believe he started off with the Charlotte Hornets, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he retired. Kyle Guy, he went to University of Virginia. He really wasn't even a rotational player, but he retired. And then Gordon Hayward's probably the most, noticeable one out of all three of them. He was a one-time All-Star in Utah. Then he bounced around in the NBA a little bit at the back end of his career. I thought the interesting thing about that was that Gordon Hayward and Paul George were the last two people left from their draft class, the 2010 draft class. Now it's just Paul George. So shout out to Paul George. But yeah, I just wanted to give a brief shout out to those players that recently retired. Just, paying homage to people that play basketball and played at the NBA level. Most of us are not fortunate enough to get there. So for them to be able to get there, I gotta salute them, But let's dive into some really good stuff. So the NBA released the Christmas Day schedule, like I just said. The lineup for that so far is what I seen was got the Spurs at the Knicks. That should be exciting. I feel that, and I think we all can agree, just about every NBA superstar, they have those moments at MSG. So I'm very much looking forward to watching Wimpy play at MSG on Christmas Day. I expect him to potentially have his I am a superstar moment, even though he's kind of already one in my book, I've been following Wimpy since he was 16. So to me, I seen this talent years ago, but that's besides the point. Spurs and Knicks, Christmas Day. Another game we got is the rematch of the Western Conference Finals with the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Dallas Mavericks. That should be a good game. And then another game we got is the Sixers we got the Sixers playing Boston. That should be a good game. And then we got the Lakers playing the Warriors. And then we got closing out the night, I'm assuming, is going to be the Nuggets at Phoenix. Things that I kind of thought was kind of crazy. I thought it was crazy not to have the Thunder on Christmas Day. Obviously, Oklahoma City's not a big market, so that's probably why they didn't do that. But I think the Thunder probably will have the best record in the West at Christmas time. So I don't know. I think that might come back and bite the NBA. And the Thunder's an exciting team to watch. So I don't know. I thought that was just really weird that they weren't on there. But also, I understood why they weren't on there because, again, it's a small market. But I think the NBA is going to regret that. I think they're going to regret also no Giannis, no Zion, no Ja Morant. Come on, NBA. Come on. But I'm not mad at that Christmas Day lineup. Obviously, all those teams are eye grabbers, for their own reasons. So I understand why those players are not on, but it would have been, NBA should have just, Christmas Day, they should have just had it on multiple networks. Or they should have just did something crazy where the first game starts at 8 in the morning or something. I don't know. NBA, you should have more Christmas Day games. You guys have a lot of superstars that deserve that limelight on Christmas Day. So I don't know. They kind of dropped the ball, but also the lineup is solid, I feel like. So I get it. Next thing, like I kind of just hinted on, the NBA schedule, I believe, is going to drop this week. I'm recording now, so I won't be able to cover that. But my next episode, I'll deep dive and let you guys know what games I'm looking forward to, what games you guys should look out for, key games on the schedule. I'll go over that in the next episode. Opening night, they actually did release some of the opening night games. October 22nd on TNT, we're going to have, and this is the last year for TNT, by the way, if you didn't know that. We're going to have Minnesota Timberwolves at the Lakers, and then we got the Knicks at the Celtics. So pretty solid doubleheader. Obviously, you know why the Lakers, because they got LeBron, so that's why they're on there. And Lakers, is global brand, but they, even for opening night, could have done better there, but it's fine. You get LeBron versus Anthony Edwards. That's always going to have aura to it. And then you get the Knicks, who some say are better than Boston or is going to challenge Boston, be the number one contender, versus Boston. So that should be a fun game to watch as well. Klay Thompson returns to the Bay Area November 12th. That's obviously going to be an emotional game. And then January 25th and February 6th, we have a rematch of the finals. January 25th, we got the Celtics going to Dallas. And then February 6th, we got Dallas going to the Celtics. So those are some games to look out for. So that's that. Now, I'm really looking forward to this next segment. Like I told you guys, there was a lot of academies that just took place. And I'm just here just to give you the information. I don't know if you guys keep up with that kind of stuff, but that kind of stuff I think is somewhat important because it gives you an idea of who to look out for. But one of the academies that took place was the was the Nike Skills Academy. It took place last week. It was at the Nike campus, which is in Beaverton, Oregon, not that far from where I live. And there was a couple NBA players that were in attendance and NBA legend. NBA players that were in attendance, it was Derek Lively and Miles Turner helping some of the big men. I seen some footage of that. And then also I seen a footage of Rasheed Wallace was just giving a good speech to the kids, and I thought that was really cool. Some of the notable players, at this event, there was high school and college players. So I'm just going to give you a couple of the college players. And these college players are ones that are prospects and probably people that are going to get drafted next year. So these are kids just to keep in your mind. One player that was there, his name was Collin Murray-Boyles. He's a sophomore, South Carolina. He's about 6'9", I believe. I think he's like 6'9". He probably could have came out this last draft, but he's probably going to be potentially a lottery pick in this upcoming draft. We also got Zvonimir Ivisic. He's 7'2", Arkansas sophomore, stretch big man. He's about 7'2". He may find his way in the lottery, to be honest. He might. We'll see how he does at Arkansas under John Calipari. He was at Kentucky last year with John Calipari and just followed him to Arkansas. I'm assuming he's going to start. So, yeah, that's a player to look out for. He's a big man, stretch big. I think he's Lithuanian. Don't quote me on that. I think he's Lithuanian or Serbian. I think. But then also, number 3, Tre Johnson, dynamic scorer. He's going to be a freshman at Texas. He was a top recruit in high school this last year. I think he was the number 1 or 2 shooting guard in the class, if I remember correctly. But he was at this academy. Then you also got Jalil Bethan. He's 6'4", freshman, going to University of Miami. Another shooting guard. He's probably going to be a mid-first round pick. Then we got Drake Powell, freshman, North Carolina. He potentially may be a lottery pick as well. And there were more. There were more college players there, but I just chose five players. 5 players that I believe probably are going to be players you guys are going to hear about once draft season comes around again. So again, just throwing these names out to you. Some of these players I've already known about. Some of them are going to be new, and that's just going to be as I go through this academy. Like I said, so some of the high school players that were there, I talked about them last episode. Number 1 player in class of 2026, that's Tyran Strokes, 6'7", combo forward. I'm not going to go, like I said, into too deep of details. If you want to know here, I talked more about Tyran Strokes in my last episode where he played in the EYBL Peach Jam Championship game alongside AJ DeBonsis. They went up against the Boozer twins and Caleb Wilson. So I would go back and check out my last episode if you hear more about Tyran Strokes. Another player that was also at this academy, his name is Meleek Thomas. I didn't know about Meleek Thomas. 6'3", he's the number one rated point guard in class of 25. A player that will be on my radar this upcoming senior year for him. Another player, I just said his name, Caleb Wilson, 6'9", 6'10", number 5 rated player in class of 25. Again, you want to hear more about Caleb Wilson, I go into more of a deep dive of him in my last episode, so I would go ahead and check that out. Another player that was also there, his name is Ament, 6'9", number 8 rated player in class of 25. He was a player I wasn't familiar with. I didn't know who he was. So, again, another player eventually I will get around to doing my deep dive and watching him. Brandon McCoy. I knew who Brandon McCoy was. Number 2 rated overall player in class of 26. He's a point guard. And there were more high school kids that were there. I just chose the couple where I felt like are ones that you guys should really pay attention to. And there's others. And if you guys know of others that you wish I would have said or that are, more important than these ones, please, in the comments, be my guest and leave it there, so we can all learn together. The next camp that took place was the Under Armour Elite 24 camp. Again, took place last week. 3 prospects that were in there, and obviously there were more, but these are the 3 that I kind of just wanted to put out there to you guys. 6'2", his name is Ikenna Alozie, 6'2", number 12 rated player in class of 2026, point guard. Again, I didn't know about him. I'll be paying attention to him when I get around to him, but again, just throwing these names out to you so you can do what you want to do with that information. Another kid was Dylan. His name is Dylan Mingo, 6'5", number 13th rated kid in class of 26. And I just named him. Another kid, just named his name in the last camp, is Ament, 6'9", number 8 rated kid in class of 25. Okay. Next camp that also took place was the Adidas All-American camp. Took place in Atlanta, Georgia. It was at the Overtime Elite facility. And this one had, I've covered him before, had Darryn Peterson, the number 3 rated overall player in class of 25. He won the MVP, co-MVP with Ament. He also won MVP, and then I already just named him, Ikenna Alozie. He won the underclassman MVP. But Darryn Peterson, he also, at the last Adidas camp earlier this year, I covered him, I think, in episode 3. Go back and check. I believe I talked about him in episode 3. Darryn Peterson won the offense and defensive MVP. Or maybe that was at the Peach Jam. Either Peach Jam or another Adidas camp recently. Earlier in the summer, Darryn Peterson won that. I mean, he's a killer. Darryn Peterson's a killer. I'm a big fan of his. Another camp that's taken place, I believe this week, is the Formula Zero Elite Camp. Dame's going to be in attendance. This is taking place in Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to Phoenix. Phoenix like a second home to me. But yeah, so some players that were there was Tajh Ariza, Trevor Ariza, former NBA player Trevor Ariza's son. He's 6'7". He's the number 6th rated class in class of 26. Darryn Peterson, I just named him. He was there. And then also we had Jasper Johnson. He's 6'4", number 12 rated kid in class of 25. And now the thing that I'm really the most excited is this Fiba U18 tournament. So in this tournament, this is arguably one of the bigger tournaments for the kids over in Europe. And Germany won. Germany won this title. They won this one around. I believe the kid that won the MVP in that game was, his name is Christian Anderson, I believe. African-American kid. I think he's from the States, but he ended up going overseas to play. But the teams that's dominated this tournament the last 5-6 years is Spain and Serbia. Spain won it twice. Serbia's won it 3 times. So shout out to those countries for, putting together really good young teams. So the first prospect that I want to cover, I learned about him. This was, I believe, 2 months ago. I learned about him. And this is a kid I haven't really seen much anybody really talking about. He's not on any NBA mock drafts or anything, which I could be wrong. Maybe I'm missing, maybe I'm wrong by what I watched, but he caught my eyes a couple months ago because he dropped 40 points in a game. And I was like, who is this? So I clicked on it, and I just kind of just followed him the last couple months, and I really like his game. His name is Ben Saraf. He's a native of Israel. He's 6'6", 200 pounds. And at the tournament, at the U18 Euro basketball tournament, he led the tournament in scoring, and he also won the MVP of the tournament. During the tournament, he ended up averaging 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, 2 turnovers. He shot 45% from the field on 22 attempts. He shot 49% on twos. He shot 36% on threes on 7 attempts. He shot 76% from the free throw line on 8 attempts. But he had 2 huge games during this tournament. His first one was in the round of 16 against Spain. This is where he had 40 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, 2 turnovers. He shot 13 of 23 from the field, which is 57%. He also shot 4 of 8 from 3, which is 50%. He shot 10 of 14 from the line, which is 71%. And they ended up winning that game. He also, the next game, he had another big game against Serbia, which I just told you guys, Serbia has been dominating this tournament. And even during this tournament this year, they did really well. Against Serbia, he had another 40 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 steals, a block, and 3 turnovers. He shot 13 of 28, ultra aggressive. Shot 46% from the field. Didn't shoot that good from 3. He shot 2 for 9, 22% from 3. He shot 12 of 16 from the free throw line, which, again, pure aggression. Getting to the rim, getting downhill. Shot 75% in that game, but they did lose that game. But during that game, he did have the go-ahead bucket to send it to overtime. And they lost in double overtime in a buzzard. The dude, another kid from Serbia, hit a buzzard, a crazy 3 buzzard, and they ended up winning that game. So that's Ben Saraf, and that's a player I would recommend you keep on your radar. I really liked his game. What I took away from draft analysis of him over the last couple months, he looks like he has a pretty long wingspan. I told you he's 6'6", so I don't know what his wingspan is. It's probably about 6'9", 6'10", I'm assuming. Solid handle, solid passer. He's very patient with the ball. He's kind of shifty. I seen him kind of rock a couple people with the rock. He was kind of shifty with it. He's really good at drawing fouls. He played really good help side defense, and he played the passing lanes very well. I thought he's left-handed. His jump shot looked kind of funky. It was kind of slow. So, I would say the big thing, obviously, just based off of his shooting that I just told you guys, his shooting numbers in the last couple games, and even in the U18 tournament, it lets me know he should be an okay shooter with room to grow. But like I said, his shooting mechanics, he shoot really slow. But he was getting to his spots. He was doing his thing. Also in the Israel league, he ended up averaging 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. He shot 46% from the field in that, 25% from 3, 67% from the free throw line, and only 23 minutes of action. So the Euro tournament, obviously, a larger sample size of what he can do. I'm assuming in Israel, I didn't really do too crazy much of a deep dive, but I'm assuming in Israel, he probably doesn't start, or B, is probably not getting the same, plays called for him. He's probably not as featured as he was in the Euro tournament. But that is a player I personally have on my draft radar. And we'll see how he performs this fall and this winter and see if he can shoot up on the board in my books. But that's a player you should have on your draft board if you don't already have. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if he's coming out next year or not. That's something I will be paying attention to, and as I gather more information, I will for sure put you guys on game with that. The next prospect that I want to talk about is Nolan Traore. I've actually covered him in my pod, either last episode or the episode before that, when I was talking about how France is going to be a problem in 2028. I said that episodes ago. I even said that, I think even either my first episode or my second episode, when I did either my draft analysis, like my pre-draft or post-draft, I literally brought up France during that pod, and I brought up Nolan Traore. So I'm not just somebody that's just now learning about him or just now saying France is going to be a problem in 28. Because I've seen some stuff over the past couple of days where it's like, oh, France is coming. No, they've been coming. Like these players have been in the pipeline. They just haven't been able to get to this level that they're going to be at, by 28. But yeah, so I've been on France. But yeah, Nolan Traore, he's a projected lottery pick. In next year's draft, he's 6'4". He's a combo guard, point guard / shooting guard. He actually led the U18 Euro tournament. I'm going to just call it the U18 tournament, okay? We'll just leave it that instead of me having to keep saying Europe. You know it's in Europe. He led that tournament in assists. But just before I even dive into his numbers in that tournament, I just want to kind of just give you guys some comments that were said, because he also played in the Nike Hoop Summit earlier this year, and some of his teammates was AJ DeBoncis and VJ Edgecombe. If you don't know who those players are, AJ DeBoncis, number 1 rated kid in class of 25. I covered him in my last episode. VJ Edgecombe, I think I talked about him a little bit in one of my episodes, but he's from the Bahamas, combo guard. He's going to Baylor. Yeah, I'll talk more about VJ Edgecombe in another episode if I didn't already talk about him. But yeah, so players on your radar. He's going to be a lottery pick as well. But these are just some comments that they both said about playing with Nolan Traore on that team. AJ DeBontis said that he learned a lot from Nolan. He also says, and I quote, "who sees the game differently." VJ Edgecombe said, "Nolan is the best point guard I've ever played with. He taught me a lot and led our team." And to me, to get praise like that from one player that's about to be a lottery pick next year in VJ Edgecombe, I think that's a lock. Unless he gets hurt or he just wets the bed at Baylor. If you haven't watched VJ Edgecombe, I would highly recommend watching his highlights and watch even what he just did on the Bahamas select team, the qualifying team a couple months ago. VJ Edgecombe is a baller, okay? So to get praise from him, and then AJ DeBoncis, which, again, I covered AJ in my last episode. Number 1 rated kid, 6'8", 6'9", scoring dynamo. Like, yeah, so if you're getting that kind of praise from players of their caliber, that also, that's letting you guys know potentially what kind of player Nolan Traore is. But again, what I will do is, as I say all these names, because there's going to be a lot of names in this episode, I'm sorry that I'm going to botch. I'm literally just going to leave a bunch of the names in the description, so you can also look these players up if you would like to. But yeah, so let's dive straight into Nolan Traore. So Nolan Traore, at the U18 tournament, he ended up averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers, which is kind of heavy. He shot 49% from the field on 11 attempts, 52% from 2, 43% from 3. He shot 62% from the free throw line. Very small sample size, only 3 attempts. And as I go through this, you'll get more sample size on the free throws. One of the games against Lithuania I thought was one of his better games in the tournament. He dropped 29 points, had 2 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, 7 turnovers, but he shot 11 of 17, 65% from the field. He was 1 for 2 from the three-point line, 25%. He shot 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 87%. I promise you, he's a better shooter than what the tournament averages are. I promise you that. And then at the Adidas tournament, he was selected to the all-tournament team. And at that tournament, he kind of just sprouted. He averaged 25 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 4 turnovers. He shot 61% from 2. He shot 32% from 3 and 81% from the free throw line in that tournament. Give me a moment. Also, in that tournament against Adidas, they played Barcelona, and he exploded on Barcelona. He dropped 45 points on Barcelona, had 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 blocks, a steal, only 4 turnovers. He shot 14 of 22 from the field, 64%. He shot 4 of 8 from 3, 50%. He shot 13 of 16 from the free throw line, which is 81%. And no, that's what I said. That's why I told you guys, Nolan's a better shooter than what he did at the U18 tournament. He's a better shooter than that. He's not a great shooter by no means. There's a better shooter that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on pretty soon here. But yeah, so my draft analysis of Nolan up to this point, his assist to turnover ratio is not that good, but should improve over time, just with exposure to the game, and as the game slows down for him, he should get better at that. He has really good size. He's 6'4". I don't know his wingspan, but it seemed like his wingspan was probably fine. Operates out of the pick and roll very well. I really liked how he navigated his way throughout the pick and roll. He's a good finisher. And like his jump shot looked kind of weird because he shot from his side, but he had a pretty quick release. So it worked. Like I said, he's a better shooter than is given. The next player I want to talk about is Mario Saint-Suprey. He's from Spain. He actually led the U18 tournament. He was third in scoring in this. He should also, but I believe he's actually going to get drafted next year too, potentially if he ends up coming out from overseas. He's 6'3". Like I said, he led that tournament in third in scoring. And during that tournament, he averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers. He shot 43% from the field on 17 attempts. He shot 49% on twos. He shot 32% on threes on 6 attempts. And he shot 79% from the free throw line on 6 attempts. I felt like one of his better games in that tournament was against Finland. Against Finland, he had 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 7 turnovers. Oh Lord, so bad. And he shot 9 for 17, 53% from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, which is 83% from there. And he shot 3 of 4 from the free throw line, which is 75%. My draft analysis from him, he didn't impress me that much. I mean, I don't really expect him to be an NBA starter. I think he's probably going to be like, who's a good player? Like, I think he's going to be a backup point guard, probably. Probably like a Sergio Rodriguez. I don't know if you guys remember him, but probably like that kind of player. Backup. He's going to probably be a backup guard. He's an okay finisher. He's a good three-point shooter. Jump shot looked kind of funky as well. Shot from the hip. Very high assist-to-turnover ratio. I didn't really like that too much. That's why I said him coming off the bench. And just from watching what I've seen, I think that's probably where his peak's going to be. So I wouldn't look for him to be a starting NBA point guard. I wouldn't look for that. This next player that I want to talk about was actually his teammate at this tournament is Hugo Gonzalez. Gonzalez is actually projected to be a lottery pick, and I can see why. He's 6'6". He actually led the U18 tournament, 4th in scoring. And at the tournament there, he averaged 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 4 turnovers. He shot 44% from the field, 17 on 17 attempts. He shot 59% on twos, 21% from 3 on 7 attempts. Shot 69% from the free throw line on 7 attempts. One of his better games, in my opinion, was against Israel. Against actually Ben Saraf. He dropped 32 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, had 6 turnovers. He shot 11 of 24 from the field, 46%. He shot 3 of 11 from 3, which is 27%. He shot 7 of 9 from the free throw line, which is 78%. My draft analysis of Hugo Gonzalez, and I knew about Hugo Gonzalez, mind you. I knew about Hugo Gonzalez. Excuse me. I knew about Mario Saint-Suprey. Ben Saraf, like I told you guys, I just learned about him 2 months ago. So that's somebody that was new to me. But these other 2 people, I already knew about them. But yeah, so my draft analysis on Hugo Gonzalez is his shooting's a question mark. His form and his mechanics looked fine to me. He's a solid defender. He was a great help side defender. I seen him come on the help side and really get up vertically and then get some pretty good, impressive blocks. He's pretty bouncy. He looked kind of bouncy to me. Again, assist to turnover ratio wasn't that good. But I think I don't think he's a point guard. I would probably slide him more to a small 3 guard at 6'7", but he's not done growing. So he might get to 6'7". To me is more going to probably play more of a 2 to 3 guard, preferably probably a 3 guard. I think is probably going to suit him in the NBA. I think that's probably going to be positionally where he should be. He was a good finisher with contact. He took a lot of contact and finished pretty well, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's Hugo Gonzalez. That's a player that's probably going to be a lottery pick next year and a player you should keep your eyes on because if your team is not good in this upcoming season, they're probably going to be looking towards him. Another player that I wasn't familiar with, his name is Noa Essengue. Noa Essengue. He's 6'10", projected first rounder in next year's draft. He led the U18 tournament 8th in rebounds. He averaged 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He shot 58% from the field on 10 attempts. He shot 67% on twos, which was pretty great. And then he only shot 8% on threes. I don't know why he was taking threes. But he only took 2 attempts, though. 2 attempts of threes. He shot 67% from the free throw line on 8 attempts, which for me, thought that was really good. 69% lets me know that he may have, a slight 3-point game in his game. his jump shot didn't look bad either, in my opinion. One of his better games to me was against Lithuania. He dropped 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, a block. He had 3 turnovers, which is not that bad at all. He shot 9 of 14 from the field, 64%. He shot 1 of 3 from 3, which is 33%. He shot 7 of 9 from the free throw line, which is 78%. I'm telling you guys, the kid probably does have some 3-point game to him, even though I know what I just said. I was like 8%, but he might have a little stretch big to him, to be real. He might, just from what I watched, he might. He also played in that Adidas tournament. This Adidas tournament took place earlier this year. If you guys didn't know, it was also, again, some international players playing in that tournament. Pretty good basketball going on in that tournament. But in that tournament, he averaged 16 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers. He shot 55% on 2s, 12% on 3s. He shot 47% from the free throw line, but like I just read other numbers to you guys. So he's a better free throw shooter than 47%, and he's a better 3-point shooter than 12%. Very solid offensive rebounder, in my opinion. He plays on the perimeter quite often, so that lets me know he believes that he's a stretch big, which he seems like he potentially probably is going to be that. Solid athlete. He played the passing lanes very well. I would like to see defensively him be a little bit more disruptive at the rim, but I believe that can come with time and repetition and comp. So that's a player to keep your eyes on because he's potentially probably going to be a first-round pick in next year's draft. The next player I'm going to talk about, honestly, I would say him and Ben are the people that, to me, like, just made me the most excited. Like, obviously I already knew about Hugo, I knew about Nolan, Traore, but these two, the Ben and then this kid, are the ones that like brought me the most like joy, like doing my notes and stuff on. And I'm gonna botch his name. I'm gonna let you know right now, but again, I will leave the name down in the description. Okay, his name is Kasparas Jakucionis. He's from, I believe, Lithuania. I think he's Lithuanian. But he's actually going to be in America. He'll be a freshman at University of Illinois. Shout out to University of Illinois. They got him coming over. And then they also got the number 1 rated kid out of Canada. His name is Will Riley. He's power forward, if I remember correctly. I think Will Riley's a power forward, but he's from Canada, number 1 rated kid. They're both going to Illinois, so I'm going to be watching some Illinois basketball this year, which is weird. I don't ever watch Illinois basketball, so I'll be watching that this year. But so in the U18 tournament, he finished the tournament 8th in scoring, 8th in assists. He's 6'6", by the way, so potentially probably room to grow. He's only probably 18, so probably going to get a little taller. But at the U18 tournament, he averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 4 turnovers. He shot 47% from the field on 15 attempts, 59% on 2s. He shot 32% from 3 on 7 attempts, 81% from the free throw line on 4 attempts. And just to let you guys know, before I go any deeper in him, he's a much, much, much better shooter than 32%, okay? I'm going to let you know right now, but you'll understand as I continue to go through. His best game, in my opinion, was actually against Nolan Traore in France at the U18 tournament. He had 37 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 turnover. Not 1 turnover. He had 1 steal, 3 turnovers. He shot 15 of 29 from the field, which is 52%. And he shot 3 of 11 from 3, which is 27%. He was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. At the Adidas tournament, because he also played in it, he made the all-tournament team as well. He averaged 18 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, 4 turnovers. He shot 57% from 2, 27% from 3. He shot 94% from the free throw line during that tournament. Again, I don't know why he liked playing against Nolan, but again, at the Adidas tournament, he gave Nolan 31, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. He had 5 fouls in that game, 3 turnovers. He shot 8 of 23, 35% from the field, so not that good. 3 of 12 from 3, which is 25%. But he was ultra aggressive. He shot 12 of 14 from the free throw line, which is 86%. Like I said, I promise you guys, he's a much better shooter than some of those other numbers I've told you. I promise you. To me, in my opinion, out of everybody that I just covered, these last 5 prospects, he's the best shooter. No doubt, in my opinion. no doubt. He has a really nice form. Like I said, he's a great shooter. Shooting off the dribble is very solid. He's a solid finisher. He navigates through pick and roll very well, coming off screens and shooting. He's a good attacker. He puts pressure on the rim. I really like him, and I'm really looking forward to watching him at University of Illinois. So that's a prospect. Again, I'll leave his name down in the description if you want to hear more about him. But those are all the prospects that I wanted to cover at that tournament. And there were more. There were other prospects. Don't get me wrong. There's other prospects that were at that tournament. But those are the 5 that I wanted to cover that I felt I wanted you guys to know about. So, again, I'll leave their names in the description. And you can, if you want to go ahead and deep dive more in them yourself, you can be my guest. And as the season goes on, you may see me pop up, bring those names up again to you guys. So, again, I'm just putting these names out there so you guys are familiar with them. And if you're already familiar with them, then great, good for you. But this is for people that may not be familiar with said prospects. And then also, this is also so the propaganda on TV, okay, the ESPN and what they may say, like, this is raw. You know, I'm very objective in the things that I say. It's not emotional based. I'm not trying to drive no narratives. You know, I'm just giving you guys the facts and information while also giving you my basketball views as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Olympics. Something I thought was really interesting is that Team USA, they ended up renting out, they had like a whole hotel rented out. It was like 800 rooms for staff, executive, family members. It reportedly cost America, whoever pays for it, it cost them $15 million to rent out that whole thing. So they didn't end up staying at like the Olympic Village. They stayed off campus. Shout out to Kevin Durant. He is now officially the all-time score leader in Olympics men and women's basketball history. So shout out to KD. It's been great watching him play, and yeah, you guys know who Kevin Durant is. You know, I'm not going to go crazy and go rant on about him. A thing that I thought was very interesting is that Adam Silva is potentially thinking about ramping up talks at creating like an in-season tournament with FIBA. I think that is an amazing idea. I feel that the NBA should have did that over this in-season tournament that they're doing with NBA teams. I don't like it. I don't like the NBA Cup. I think it's really corny. I just don't care for it. Personally, I don't care for it. I think this is a great idea, though. I believe that allowing NBA teams against some of the European teams, I think that would be great. Just take, you know, it ain't got to be every NBA team. You ain't got to do all 30 NBA teams, but, you know, maybe do 10 NBA teams and then 10 European teams the first year, and the next year do the next different set of teams. Like, I think that'd be great. And then you could have these Europeans, some of the games have them come to America and then have America go over there, or like do 1 year where all the American teams go there. Next year, all the FIBA teams come here. I think it's great. I think it's great exposure for America, for all the American players to get exposed to more Europe and European players, and vice versa. I think it's a really good idea, and I really hope they do it. I also want to give a shout out to a commentator who I didn't know. I didn't know anything about him. But I really appreciated his commentary with Dwayne Wade. His name is Noa Eagle. He's only 27, very young. I believe his dad was a commentator for the Brooklyn Nets. I believe, don't quote me on that. But his dad was like a very legendary commentator as well. I think we're gonna see him a lot on NBC once NBA switch over to the NBC network. So not this upcoming season, but the following year NBA will be having a lot of games on NBC. And I covered that actually in my last episode about the TV rights that are going to be changing coming up. But yeah, so I want to give a shout out to him because I thought he did really well. And I really enjoyed, actually, I even enjoyed Dwayne Wade doing his commentary too. But yeah, shout out to Noa Eagle. That's a kid. That's a dude you need to keep on your radar, okay? Obviously, the big game. This game to me was one of the best games emotionally that I've watched and I have seen in a long time. Like it hit me emotionally, obviously, because I'm American, man. I'm a patriot. You know, I love my country regardless. You know, like yeah, we have things in this country that are wonky and that, you know, we don't agree with, you know, but I still love my country, you know, I still rep my country hard, and there's no place like this on earth. That's why everybody want to come here, you know. But so USA plays Serbia. Obviously, Nikola Jokic plays for Serbia. America, how I seen the game, I'm gonna be real. I seen it as Thanos being Nikola Jokic versus the Avengers. Literally, that's what it was. It was a great game. Okay, like, let me start off with that. It was a great game. I want to give a shout out to Bojan Bogdanovic. he played with his heart on his sleeve. I personally liked when he kept doing a three and looked at Melo. Like, I like that. I know some people was like, oh, why is he disrespecting Melo? One, in basketball, we talk mess, okay? Like, any hooper, anybody that hoops, we talk, you know? Like, so Big Yip, if he's doing that at Melo, he's talking his ish. And at that time, he had the right to do it, okay? Like, I want to give a shout out to him, though, because I feel like he played his heart out. He played his heart out, and I really liked how, like I said, how engaged he was messing with Melo. And Melo didn't take no... Again, Melo's a hooper, okay? Like, hoopers know we talk ish to each other. Like, that's normal. So all those emotional people I've seen on social media and even on TV talking about it, I'm like, come on, bro. Like, either A, you're not hooper, or you're trying to push some narrative out. Again, get the propaganda out of here. Let's talk about real stuff that's really going on. But shout out to Bogdanovic, man. I also want to give this man, he was making me so mad. Joel Embiid, most of the game was making me mad. End of the third, and then all of the fourth quarter. Not all of the fourth, because there was spots in the fourth where he gave up some plays, but Joel Embiid played really well. I want to give shout out to Joel Embiid for his performance in that game. But don't get it twisted. The fourth quarter was the big three. LeBron, KD, Steph, they did their thing the entire fourth quarter, and I would recommend you go back and watch that game if you didn't watch it. And just watch the fourth, okay? If you don't want to watch the whole game, watch the fourth quarter. It was amazing. The U.S. defense got very serious in the fourth quarter. They gave up 0 threes to Serbia in the fourth. Before the fourth, I think Serbia hit like 15 or 17 threes, something crazy. And they were shooting a crazy percentage. I think they shot like over 50% going into the fourth. And then the U.S. just tightened up their defense. So I really want to give a shout out to them, man, because that game, again, I don't, podcast, I want to cut it short. I don't want it to be too long. I'm not going too crazy deep dive into that game. The game was special, okay? It was a special game. I'm even about to rewatch the U.S. versus Spain game in 2008. I'm going to rewatch that. I remember watching it live, but obviously I've gotten older. I have a deeper understanding of the game. So I want to see how that game makes me feel in the essence of like even just watching the game and analyzing it. I want to compare that to that Serbia game because that Serbia game emotionally, it had me going crazy. I was yelling in my apartment. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. Like, I was engaged. And I'm pretty sure every other American fan was engaged. I believe that game had like 20. I think it had. No, that wasn't that game. It was the France game. But I'm about to hint on that. But yeah, the Serbia game. Go back and check that out. It was an amazing game. And shout out to Serbia. They ended up winning the bronze. And Nikola Jokic. I seen a video. Nikola Jokic went back to his country. Obviously, he literally stays in Serbia. He's never in America in the off season. He literally went back to Serbia, had his shirt off. He didn't even do that for the Denver parade. So he seemed like he was more happy to celebrate Serbia's bronze over the title with the Nuggets. And rightfully so, man. Like, rightfully so. You're representing your country. Like, that means more than winning a title inside of a league. Okay, obviously we know accolades wise, we count NBA rings over medals. Okay, we know that. But emotionally, that medal is going to mean more. You know, like even for the USA players, I know that medal means something emotionally, you know, because you're representing the whole country, man. The greatest country at that. Don't get it twisted. But then the U.S. and France was in the championship game. Obviously, Victor, I love the beginning of the game, man. The beginning of the game, it was slobber knocker. Punch. Victor had like, I think France's first 9 points. He hit a three. He had like 2 dunks. He crossed Joel Embiid, hit him with a mean hezzy, man. I was hyped. I was like, okay, Victor, I see you. He hit him with a mean hezzy, but it was a great game. I felt first quarter I felt like the first quarter really ramped up for Team USA as soon as Anthony Edwards got in the game. Right when he got in the game, he started picking up 94 feet. Had hands out. He was disrupting. He was disrupting all their guards, causing pressure. I love that, bro. Shout out to Ant, man, because he brought that thing. He played great defense. But Victor and Gushano Yanasabi, Ubaseli, Gushano Ubaseli. He used to play in the NBA. People don't know that. He played, I believe, for Boston and Indiana, I believe, are the 2 teams he played for. But I thought it was weird how people didn't know that he played in the NBA. But he wasn't relevant in the NBA. So I get it. Unless you're like a hoop head like myself, then you're not going to know. But yeah, so him and Victor, I felt like kept France in the game. Like I said, Evan Fournier hit, I think, like 2 threes throughout the game, but I thought it was weird that Nick Batum didn't play more. I thought that was kind of odd. But yeah, it was the Steph Curry show. Okay, I'm gonna drink me some water. I want you to sit on that. It was a Steph Curry show. Steph was wet like water. Let me tell y'all. Stephen, let me correct myself. Wardell Stephen Curry. We all know it. We know he's the greatest shooter of all time. We know that. And it's sad because one day I'm going to have a child. I'm going to have kids one day. And some of you guys may or may not have kids. Steph is one of those players that 30, 40, 50, how do I put this? So what Wilt Chamberlain meant to our great-grandparents, and if your grandparents old enough, your grandparents, what Wilt was when it's like, oh, you just have to see Wilt, that's what Steph is. I mean, that's what Stephen Curry is. And I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? Shout out to Steph. He put on a show. He woke up. In the Serbia game, we needed him. The France game, we needed him. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Steph was just special. He was special. Some role players for Team USA I want to give a shout out to is my boy Devin Booker. He played his role. Book played his role. He was that 3-and-D player. And even when the U.S. needed big shots from him, he had big shots. He played great defense. And I really believe that this run, I thought this run for Team USA and being on Team USA, I thought this was really good for Devin Booker. And I'm very excited to see what he does this upcoming season. I'm very excited. Also, another player I want to give a shout out to is AD. Anthony Davis should have won the Olympics MVP. Defensive MVP. He should have won it. He didn't win it. He played his mind out on defense. And also so did Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday played amazing on defense all tournament long, kept pressure. They were a star in their roles, and Bam did great. Derek White did really good as well. I'm not discrediting those players, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Book, AD, and Jrue because I felt like they were the best Team USA role players, and their contributions were needed for the team. The last thing that I want to cover is Oh Hell the King, man. Oh Hell the King. LeBron won the MVP for the Fiba U tournament. I mean, not the Fiba U tournament, for the Olympics. He won the MVP. So shout out to LeBron in that. Jrue Holiday was the first player since Scottie Pippen in 92 and 96 to win an NBA title and a gold medal twice. He did that. Scottie Pippen was the other player. Jrue Holiday was the most recent player. So shout out to Jrue Holiday in that. But that's the end of this episode. Next time you guys will see me will be in 2 weeks. And in the next episode, again, I will cover the NBA schedule. I also will probably talk about, like I told you guys, I don't care about the NBA in-season tournament, but I will just talk about the groups, who's in the groups, so you guys know who that is. And whatever things may come about in the next 2 weeks. If it's nothing, then I will potentially talk about college basketball, or I may talk about, upcoming NBA season and team forecast, in my opinion. Other than that, I want to thank you for tuning into the PJ Hoop Podcast. Again, I'm your host, PJ, and PJ's out.